Bullhucker Podcast. I'm Moose Lundstrom.
And I'm Adam Vilke.
That's Mr. Adam Vilke to you people out there in Facebook.
Podcast land.
I was going to pull it off and be so cool, so smooth, and then I just tell this shit down my leg. Hey, Adam, we're on location again.
We are.
2 weeks ago, we were
like a couple traveling vagabonds.
Wildeberries.
Traveling wildeberries. I don't even know.
Wildebeest?
Wildebeest? That actually fits up
probably
a little
closest.
better, yeah. But we do have a guest today. Well, first of all, we're at the Brush Art Center again, like we were 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
With the owner, Mr.
I remember
Rob
to wear
Gifford.
these clothes.
Yeah, we wore the same clothes because it's not the same day. Wink, wink, wink. But we were with the owner, Rob Gifford. He beat us both, so
He did.
we're going to badmouth Rob here after a little bit, you know.
Okay.
But we have a new guest today,
Yep, we do.
Mr. Eric Christensen,
Hello. How you doing?
veteran, leader of the VFW here in town. I said
Yes.
leader.
Commander.
I call you the leader.
Okay. It's synonymous.
No. Eric and I actually go back a long way. He's actually a staunch supporter of the Swickenese people.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mom Swickenese.
Mom's not. She's
Well, she's not
Swickenese.
Swickenese,
Yeah,
but-
she's Swedish and
yeah,
Mexican.
but-
She's Swexican. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. But she supports you.
Yeah.
We got to see one of your first comedy shows down there in Denver.
Right.
That's where I kind of met you guys, and it's like,
that's
holy
right, yeah.
moly, this is fun.
Before you and Mel got married, she was still a single lady. That's when I first started comedy, and she used to go with Mom. Mom used to come get Mel, and she's like, "Hey, Melody
Melody Weiner at that
that's
time.
right, wants to go, of course." And then Annie Rodriguez would come and get him in trouble. You know, miss you, Annie, love you, and what's up, Mel? And yeah, they'd always come down and they'd make like a night of it. So.
Well, they invited me to go along, so I was in the back seat of the vehicle with these three women
Wild
that
people.
were talking all kind of stories. They were laughing and giggling, and here I was in the back seat listening in on all their conversations. It was crazy. And then I got down there and met you guys at the comedy show.
Sure.
I think it was a good time.
And you started coming to quite a few of the shows early in life when we first
yeah.
started Two for the Road Entertainment. So
Yes,
yeah, it was cool.
a lot of them over at the Clarion.
That's right. That's right. Back when we first started, man.
Oh, yeah. Packed the
Seems
house.
like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it sounds like we're gonna maybe start those up again
Very good.
here locally. And we're working out a deal for the golf course to do a couple nights of comedy here in Brush, Colorado, in the fall. So far, the plan is to just pay the overhead, and then we're going to donate to a charity.
Very good.
Yeah, so so someone can we can all. I'd like to someday start a scholarship just so people. I call it the Dick and Fart Joke Scholarship. You know what I mean? How'd you pay for school? Dick and Fart jokes. It was amazing. I didn't tell them, but that's why I'm here. So that would be good, Eric. Wouldn't you want to?
Oh, yeah, you got to support that. Everybody'd be wanting to jump in on that one.
Why is no one applying for the scholarship?
Right. Well, before we go any further, I do want to stop and say welcome to the Bullhucker Podcast. What the Bullhucker is, if you're new to this, is it's a podcast where we bring on a guest. Today's Eric Christensen, Commander Leader. And what Eric's going to do is he's going to tell us 3 stories about his life. Now, the kicker is only 2 of these stories are true. One is actually the Bullhucker, as we call it, which means it's either a lie, it's either partially made up, all the way made up, or borrowed. Now, Eric, don't go into a lot of detail to give it away, but is your story a borrowed story, a partially made up story, or all the way made up story?
It's partially borrowed.
Partially borrowed.
Yeah.
That could be a new combination.
That's the bastard option, we'll call it right there. So
We'll throw a loop at you.
it is throwing a loop at us. I don't think we've ever had that, have we?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I think that's a new combination on us.
Yeah, that's
So
the borrowed are tough because the borrowed stories are tough because they are a true story. They're just not your
Yes.
true story. So
Yeah.
they actually happened to somebody, right?
Yes.
So that's tough. Also, if you'd be so kind and you enjoy what you see here, there's a little red button on the right bottom hand corner. That's a subscribe. I cannot say the word subscribed quickly. Subscribe, but they need to find another word for subscribe so I can Anyway, it's on the bottom hand corner of the screen. Please hit that because it's a
small click for you, but a big click for us.
boom. No.
Okay.
And no matter what you're doing, if you're on Stitcher, iTunes Radio, whatever, please make sure you follow the podcast, subscribe, leave a note, leave a message, and what else am I forgetting, Adam?
I don't know. You've You lost me.
I lost him. That's my thing. I had a tail.
Rate, review, leave a comment.
Leave a rating and review. That's what I want to hear.
Put your guest down there.
Yeah, it is fun. And some people are starting to do that on YouTube now. It's kind of cool to see people. Susan Koser. We haven't shout out Susan Koser in a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
What's up, Susan? Boom, boom, you know. Also, my friend Tish has also been, Prez has been commenting as well. So thank you for following, Tish. You're great. So much love. Anyway, so that's what we do. We're going to bring on Eric. And Eric, I've actually been kind of, I've been looking forward to this one. So you were in the Navy. No.
Only 20 years.
That's it.
Only. Yeah.
Underwater demolition, right?
Well, I was a Navy deep sea diver. My first 4 years, I was a radioman. And basically that was shuffling papers around. So I did my 4 years and I got out. I said, nah, I don't want to do that anymore. Well, I went back to the Oregon coast and finally decided I wanted to get into diving. So I went back into the Navy specifically to go through welding school and Navy dive school. And after that, I spent 15 years, got my retirement, but I did all kinds of stuff underwater. I did some welding, I did some demolition. We saw the tax collector, the sharks.
Oh. Why do you call him the tax collector?
Because when a fisherman is out there, and he's got a fish on the line, before you can get it in the boat, the tax collector comes along and takes a chunk out of it.
I have never heard that. Have you?
I've never heard that either.
That's funny.
In Hawaii, they call him the tax collector, the man in the gray suit. There's several different names for him.
Wow.
Some of them not so pleasant, you know.
You ever had to tangle with a shark?
I have seen many sharks, but I've never had one actually come up and bite me. I've been very close to it. Well, all I've got to do is show my Navy diver ID card, and they're gone.
They're gone. That's awesome.
That's one of the things I've always wanted to do is dive with sharks. I've always wanted to do that.
Why?
It's a bucket list thing. I don't know.
Yeah, your mind.
But
this is the sign for shark. What's up, Rena? We had a podcast. Hosted was diving for the first time, and she said the other divers were experienced, and they started doing this. They started giving like the, if you're listening to this, it's like the L sign without the bottom L. It's the shark sign, right? Is that the shark sign?
Is
that it?
It's biting.
Okay.
That could also be a barracuda, though.
Which one? The biting?
The biting.
Oh, let's see.
Anything that's biting, or
the shark.
The fin on the head. Yeah.
So that's our new shark sign.
okay, I'll keep that in mind.
In case you're in a Colorado reservoir or whatever, you come across the shark. So, welcome to Colorado.
If you're at Pruitt swimming, you see someone give the sign, the hand to the forehead, get out.
Right.
It'd be more like C for a carp.
Yeah, right.
It's a day I was attacked by a rainbow bass.
Rainbow bass. Now so he's like a hybrid, partially made up, borrowed or whatever it was, and now you're a rainbow bass. It's a bass or a rainbow trout. So
he can make up his own fish.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Thank you, Eric.
Mr. Outdoors over here.
You know, if there is such thing as a rainbow bass. You know what? If there is, please.
Yes, please.
Adam Vokey. Find him on social media and bust his ass. So.
Yep. Send him straight to me. I want to know. I'm going to go Google that later. So,
all right. So, we got 3 stories, Adam. I'm going to let you read those out. Those are some.
Yeah, I felt like I needed to practice these before we started. So we have first dive in ocean, net and screw of Pearl J, Stass cable job in Diego Garcia, fishing trip to hell with Hap Belle Isle and Red Wakely.
You didn't mess around with those, Eric.
No, not at all. You're going to have a tough time. I guarantee it.
I'm excited. So, all right. Well, you picked first last time. You want me to pick first this time?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I always pick the one I always want to hear, Eric. I always pick last. These all look really good. So I'm gonna skip the one because I can't pronounce the name. I'm gonna leave that one for Vokey. So I think I want to hear Stass cable job at Diego Garcia.
Okay. On the stern end of a submarine, there is a cable that comes out. It's on a big reel inside the submarine, and it goes through a tube, and it comes out right near the stern planes and the rudder on the back of a submarine.
Okay.
And this cable, it's not very big diameter, but it has microphones and speaker capability, so they can reel it back maybe 1,000 yards behind the submarine, so that when they're streaming along, going through the ocean, they can listen if another submarine is trying to come up behind them. They can also make noises back there. They can emanate sounds like machinery, so that if they're quiet enough and the sound is back here, an enemy sub or a ship might be sending a missile or a torpedo at that sound, and it blows up the cable, but they get away. So this cable on one of the ships, the subs, was needing some work on it. Well, I happened to be on a submarine tender in Diego Garcia, which is about 8 degrees south of the equator in the Indian Ocean.
It's an island or it's a...
Diego Garcia is an atoll. It's shaped kind of like a footprint.
He's laughing because he knows I had no clue what an atoll is.
It's an island. An atoll.
Right now.
An atoll is an island that has a ring around it with a harbor or water in the center of it.
Okay, I got you.
So it's like a perfect harbor. It stops all the wave action and everything. It's a very good place to anchor and work on other ships.
Like an old volcano, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Well, it's all coral out there.
Okay.
So our big subtender, 800 foot long, it's designed with all kinds of mechanical rooms, and it's got guys on board who can work on the periscopes, torpedoes, engines, everything that a submarine has. They've got all this equipment and capabilities. They have a couple booms that stick out on the side, and they can run power cables over the side. Submarines pull up, they get moored to us, and then we drop power cables down through some of their access holes so that they can shut down their reactor. They can get work done on them, and they get a little rest. We just help supply them and all this. But this SAS cable was giving them issues, and they wanted to get that repaired so they could go back out and do their mission. So in order to work on it, somehow you had to hook onto it and pull it up onto a barge where it could be kind of coiled up and inspected and everything. So somebody had to go down, tie a rope on it, go over there and throw the end of the rope to this barge. Problem was, in Diego Garcia, it's real deep. During the daytime, you hardly ever see a shark. But once it gets dark, the big hungries come out. We have lights that are hanging down over the side to illuminate these submarines. Well, that attracts all the little tiny bait fish, which attracts some bigger fish, which attracts the big hungries, the tax collector, the man in the gray suit. You could see him at night. When you'd walk along the deck of the ship, you'd look down, and these lights would illuminate 30, 40 feet down into the water, and you'd see these great big sharks swimming along. 8-footers are common. 12-footers, they're out there every once in a while. And there was one that we called Hector. Hector swam alongside the captain's gig one time. Captain's gig is basically like a little cabin cruiser boat that the captains would use to go from ship to ship or to the shore. This boat was 26 foot long. Hector was as long as the captain's gig. You could see him in the water.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah.
Turn
Yeah.
off the lights.
Okay. So at night, the hungries would come up. They'd be out there. We didn't want to go in the water at night.
Well, no.
So here I was tasked to do this job, to swim out there, swim down, tie a rope around the SAS cable on the end of it, and then swim over and flip that rope up to the guys on the barge so that they could pull it all up there and get it coiled up. Well, they kept messing around. They had other jobs that were needing to be done. We had specific tags that we had to put on equipment so that they wouldn't operate while I was in the water. So it just had one delay after another. I had my gear on. All I was wearing was my T-shirt, my UDT shorts, my swim fins, and my mask. So I'm out there getting ready and waiting for this, and time keeps going by. We're sitting there waiting. Okay, we got a rope and everything, but nothing is happening. Finally, somebody came up out of the sub. The diving supervisor says, okay, we've got permission. You can go ahead and get in the water. Okay, so by then, the sun was starting to get down close toward the horizon, but it wasn't dark yet. So I grabbed the rope, swam out there, just held my breath. I dove down, tied a couple knots on the end of that STAS cable, came up to the surface, swam over toward the barge, and I'm thinking, I'm hoping nothing's looking up, seeing what kind of a morsel I might be.
Right.
So I throw the end of the rope up there. It wasn't long enough.
Oh, no.
It would not reach the barge.
Oh, shit.
So I had to swim back. I got back toward the submarine and told the guys on the deck of the sub, I need another rope. Get me something that I can fasten onto this. So while I'm waiting, they're getting a rope. I look up on the sub tender, and people are starting to stand around on the decks. It was already basically quitting time.
Right.
They had already knocked off the ship's work for the day, so there was people standing up there watching. And then I started hearing it. Da-dun, 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 dun, 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 dun. And they were chanting. And it's like,
That's horrible. That's
you
shitty.
gruesome sons of bitches. You're up there. They're probably making bets on whether I'm going to get munched or not. You know, they're up there looking to see, hey, this guy's going to be a bloodbath.
We got 3-1 odds on his leg, 5-1 on his arm.
Yeah. So the longer I wait, the louder it got. And more people started coming out there. And they're saying, hey, come here, check this out. He's going to get in the water again. And the sun's going down. And they finally got me a rope. So I had to go out there. The sun is setting down a little bit further all the time. It's getting closer to being dark, and I'm starting to pucker. Okay, so I got the rope. I tied the two of them together. I swam over by the barge, and it's getting louder up there on the deck of the subtender.
Right.
I throw the rope up, and nobody goes to catch it. I coiled it back up in my hand. I said, you guys got one chance. I'm throwing it. You either catch it or I'm done.
Right.
I threw it. I swam back to the submarine, and somehow somebody caught it over there, and they pulled the STAS cable up. But by the time I got out of the water, I was sweating in the water.
Right.
I was like puckered up, and people were just, when the show was over, they all walked away, but boy, that was a tough one.
Do you think the sharks took offense to that? Like the Donna, they're like, oh my God. You know,
There's a shark.
It's a stereotype, okay?
Yeah. But knowing what was down there in that water, and knowing that at dark, they come up and they start looking, they're hungry.
Yeah.
And there I was swimming around.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Yeah, I've done that. You know what I've done, Eric? I'd have pushed somebody in that water. You know?
Well, they're all up on the deck of the ship.
I'd have climbed my ass up the deck of the ship, and I'd have pushed one of them on the water. That's all I'd have done, you know?
That was kind of a pucker factor.
What year is that?
That had to be about 1980 or 81.
So Jaws is very relevant
Oh,
at this
yeah,
time. Like
yeah.
75,
I was thinking
76?
76.
75 or 76. Yeah. So, no, I think it was 75 because the year I was born.
Okay.
Because I was looking at the top movies. The year you were born, you know. For those of us who are born with movies, we're, you know, movie pictures there, Eric, you know. But no, that's a shitty thing to do, especially like I said, because Jaws is still fairly new, so that's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of
Yeah, they knew they were getting my goat, and I was trying not to show it, but damn,
No,
that's a tough one when you're in the water and they're doing that.
Right.
yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. All right, what do you think about that one then?
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
That's
I like it. I like it.
at least Hector didn't come to watch
Yeah.
that you know of. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
He might have been down there, but maybe I wasn't tasty enough for him or something. I don't know. Or he saw my Navy diver ID card.
There you
That's
go.
what,
That's what it was.
Send a chunkier one in. This one, you gotta eat on those bones, you know. All right. Is the moose up there? The Swickenese guys are big. That's it.
It's one of those wildebeests in there.
Yeah. I like when I bite him, gravy comes out of his veins. It's good. It's delicious.
Yeah.
All right. 2 left, my man. We got. You want me to read them off?
Yeah.
Okay. We have first dive in Ocean Net and Screw of Pearl J. I probably read that wrong, right? First dive in Ocean Net and Screw. And then the fishing trip to hell with Hap, Belle Isle, and Red Wakely. Did I say it right?
You did.
Thank you, Brush High School Education. What's up?
So I'm going to go with fishing trip to hell with Hap and Red.
Coward.
Belle Isle and Wakely. I got it. But
Okay, that was quite a trip. It was just going to be a standard old fishing trip. This friend of ours, Hap Belle Isle, he was a Navy diver, but he worked for the submarine squadrons. And Red Wakely also worked for the submarine squadrons. But it ended up, there was a total of 5 of us, Navy divers, who went out on Hap Belle Isle's boat. It's a 19-foot boat. He had a great big, like 150 or 200 horse Mercury motor on it. And they had plans. We were going to go out to the HH buoy off Honolulu Harbor. It's 18 miles out. It's basically a buoy that just kind of marks somewhere off the harbor for a bearing for when other ships and barges and stuff are moving around. They get a reading off from it. They know where their bearing is. Mm-hmm. So usually there's a lot of fish attracted to it. Anything that's stationary in the water, it gets a little bit of seaweed or something on it, and then some of the little fish come along, and then pretty soon the bigger fish say, hey, there's food here. So they hang around. So we thought, well, maybe we could go out and get some mahi or tuna. So we all got together early in the morning. We come down to Honolulu Harbor. We get on board Hap's boat, and we pull out, and we're heading out to sea. So we're cruising along out there, talking, or getting ready to have a wobbly pop or two. We get about 12 miles out to sea, and all of a sudden, the motor quits. What the hell? So Hap, this is a brand new motor. Hap goes back there, and he's fiddling around with it, and pretty soon they're pulling the cover off and tinkering with this and checking the spark plugs, and they're checking this and that, and try the key again, and nothing's working. Nothing. We're just drifting. Well, in Hawaii, there's trade winds out there that blow, and
Right.
the wind was already starting to move just a little bit, but it was blowing away from the island. Well, after a while, hour or so, they had been tinkering with that. They couldn't find anything to get it going again. So we're starting to think about, shoot, maybe we're going to have to find a Coast Guardsman or somebody to come out and find us.
Right.
Well, it happened that Red Wakely had a little CB radio in like a lunchbox. He pulled this CB radio out, and he had 2 little short antennas that folded up, and we hooked them up. I held these antennas up as high as I could, and he hooked it to a battery on the boat, and we started calling around, and we finally got another fisherman that would answer to us. This is on a CB radio. This doesn't reach all the way to the Coast Guard.
Right.
So these fishing boats says, well, okay, we'll keep an eye out for you. We'll look for you. We know kind of, you say you're in this area, and okay, we'll look for you. Well, about another hour goes by, and we're getting a little farther out to sea, and the wind's picking up a little bit more. This 19-foot boat's starting to bounce around a little bit, and we're thinking, a couple more hours of daylight, maybe we better see if we can get somebody else on there. So we keep trying to talk, and finally got another boat who said, oh, we have a VHF radio. We'll call the Coast Guard. So they called the Coast Guard, and Coast Guard said, okay, we'll send out a small boat to try and look for you. And we gave them some kind of directions. We said the island's bearing this direction, so they were coming out to try and search for us. Another hour or so goes by, and the sun's getting a little bit lower toward the horizon. So finally, they said, well, maybe we'll send out a chopper. Because we were starting to get a little worried. The seas were getting rougher and rougher all the time. The wind was blowing harder. And the island of Hawaii, Oahu, started getting smaller and smaller on the horizon.
See, that's one of the things I was sitting here thinking is when you're drifting, you feel like you're not moving, but you're moving a lot more than you realize.
Yeah. When you got 25, 30 mile an hour winds, you're moving right along. Okay, so they set up a chopper. And after a while, we finally saw this chopper on the horizon about a mile away from us going out. Well, we were able to talk on the CB radio to another boat who was able to use the VHF to talk to the Coast Guard on shore, who had to talk to the guys in the chopper. Oops. They finally got the chopper turned around, and they had him swing over a little bit farther. And just before dark, he finally spotted us. We were 27 miles offshore.
Oh, shit.
In a 19-foot boat with 15-foot seas with 25 mile an hour winds. We were quite a ways out there. It took them 3.5 hours to tow us back once they got a boat hooked onto us. So we didn't get back to shore until after dark.
Oh, jeez.
We had 4 life jackets, and there was 5 of us on the boat. So we thought, we've got to do something to convince the Coast Guard that we're still legal. So when we got the Coast Guard boat pulled up alongside, they wanted to check and make sure we all had our life jackets on. We says, well, we've got one guy up in underneath the front of the boat. He's hiding up in there to stay out of the saltwater spray and everything. So when we finally got back to shore and they wanted to check our life jackets, we were making a show of taking ours off, and we threw one in under the front of the boat, and Red slipped into it real fast, kind of came out like he was untying it, but they never counted. We had 4 life jackets, 5 guys, but we made it back to shore.
If you wouldn't have had the 5th life jacket, what would that have been?
It would have been a fine.
Oh, okay.
But at least they found us.
Right.
That was one of them trips where we started looking at each other and saying, okay, who are we going to eat first when we start running out of food? We had fishing poles, but without a motor to troll, very slim chance of catching anything.
Right.
I'm starting to realize don't ever do anything with Eric in the evening
that's no
or
shit.
late afternoon because everything goes wrong for him.
You could eat shark. You could eat the tax collector. Just dip the one guy in and wait for the tax collector to show up. Eat it, man. You know?
Yeah.
You ever ate shark?
I have.
I have not. You?
Yeah.
Good?
If you clean it properly.
That's a no.
They don't have a bladder, so their urine stays in their body. So you have to cut them to make them bleed. Their urine is in their blood system. Bleed them out real good and get that diluted out and then cook them. They're not bad.
Huh. So I had swordfish, not shark.
I've had
It's
swordfish.
different.
Okay.
So, yeah.
They're very similar to sturgeon, which is very good.
Okay. All right. I don't think I had that either. And I like fish, man. Dude, I could live like in San Francisco or by a fish market the rest of my life and be happy as shit, man. I could live off fish the rest of my life. I love fish, man.
Yeah, so do I.
I'm a fish fan. And you're right, it's not common in this area.
No.
You know, there's a lot of people who don't like fish around here. You know who freaks me out is DeSo's, who don't like fish because their dad was a massive fisherman. Well, he's a Vietnam veteran, you know, and worked for the Ford, I think, for years and years. But, dude, Wayne, if he wasn't at home, he's out fishing. I'm like, how do you not like fish, man? That's all you probably had as a kid.
That's probably why they don't like it.
Yeah.
Maybe overloaded on it.
Right. So, I mean, and also, you're joking about eating some of the Eric, but what does happen when you get far enough out?
We could have been adrift for a long time. There are cases where people drift for months, and you know, you find something to eat along the way, or you don't,
or you just die.
But with 5 of us, you know, we're looking at, okay, who do we sacrifice first,
right?
If we get to that point. But how long will it be? We might be in Tahiti or Australia before we get located somewhere.
That's awesome.
From Hawaii, there's not much land out there. There's little islands here and there, but they're maybe 1,000 miles away.
And I mean, to find something in the ocean's got to be a bitch, right? I mean, it's
it's
so needle in a haystack, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
I'll be down. What do you think about that story?
That's scary. That would, I don't know. I think I would rather do the cable thing than
be adrift
at sea.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want to do either one. Yeah, no, that is scary to be. I mean, that's worse than being lost in like the woods or something. You know what I mean? At least,
well, 5 Navy divers, that would have kind of impacted the facility there at submarine base in Pearl Harbor, because they would have had to pull in some more people, or they would have been shorthanded on working on subs.
Right.
But 5 of us all at once.
Sure.
And you would never have a chance to. At that time, we didn't have cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have a way to call somebody and say, see ya, love ya, anything like that. We were just drifted away and been gone. They'd never known what happened.
What was wrong with the engine? Did you guys ever find out?
I don't know. I never went out fishing with Hap Belle Isle again. Hap and Red Wakely are still friends of mine on Facebook. I see them all the time on Facebook. But,
what's up, Hap? What's up, Red?
I'm not going fishing with them.
That's right.
Well, I've been on a boat that's quit working in the middle of a lake, and the panic of just your boat not working
but out
in a
the
lake.
ocean.
Yeah, but so then you magnify that to the ocean. I couldn't even imagine what that was.
When they started pulling us in, we had waves crashing over the bow of the boat, and we were being drenched with salt water. It was just coming down in sheets over the top of us. It would hit the windshield, it'd come up, and then just drenching us. So we were just sucking salt water the whole time, 3.5 hours coming in.
There's no bottom to this boat, right? Like somewhere to. There's not like a downstairs, like what's it called? Like a.
We had a little pump on there, so we were pumping water out every once in a while.
Huh.
But, yeah.
No, thank you. No,
It could have been an ugly trip.
Sure. Well, we wouldn't be hearing stories.
It already was ugly, but
Yeah.
at least we had an ending where we all got back to shore.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. I don't know, man. Did anybody have a gun?
No.
No, see that's the way I'd take out. I mean, if, you guys can eat me, you'll survive for weeks. You know, but I love them. You know, you ever eat moose? Yeah, once. like the Donner Party shit. You know what I'm saying? He didn't put up a fight or nothing. Bucker probably had diabetes, so he was pretty sweet. So, all right, we got one left, man. The first dive in
ocean net and screw of Pearl J.
That doesn't seem like a sentence that makes sense.
Well, there's a dash.
Okay, it
So-
does.
Oh, okay.
First dive in ocean.
Oh,
Net and screw
comma,
of Pearl
net and
J.
screws. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, I had learned a little bit about the ocean and snorkeling and so forth when I was on Guam on my first enlistment in the Navy. But I had never been scuba diving. So we got in a there was a race rat back in the early 70s, and I got hit in the mouth a few times, so I couldn't go ahead and do a scuba class for a while, so I just ended up, I did some snorkeling, but I had never been certified as a diver. Well, I got back to Oregon, and I got some training as a diver, read some books and everything, and did some diving in the lakes, rivers. We'd go down and pick up fishing lures and stuff like that, just basic things, and never had been in saltwater, in the ocean. Well, I got a call one night. These guys were out on their fishing boat, the Pearl J, and when they were trying to bring their net in, there was a current or something, and the net kind of swung in underneath the stern of the boat, and the screw hung up on the net or some of the ropes on it, and they couldn't pull it up, and it stopped their screw. They couldn't go forward. They couldn't go backwards without tearing the net up more, and they've already got a whole bunch of fish in the net. They had been pulling their net along the bottom. They had halibut, rockfish, lingcod, whatever.
Did they have any rainbow bass?
Rainbow bass. I'm sure there was one or two, maybe. But they couldn't move. They couldn't bring the net up. They couldn't release it. And they were kind of screwed with their screw. So they called a couple people to come out and see if they could dive on it. And other people had some excuses. They couldn't do it. They called me. I had never dove in the ocean. Well, they convinced me. They waved some dollar signs in front of me, and I says, well, for that, I might go out there and look at it.
Yeah.
So they had another boat in the harbor that they told me to go down there and get on this boat, and they would bring me out to the Pearl J, and I could cut their net loose or whatever they had to do. So I grabbed some serrated knives and some other tools, got all my dive gear together, wetsuit, tanks, brought a couple tanks with me, and went down there to Charleston and got on board this other boat, and we go chugging out there. So while we're en route, I'm putting my wetsuit on and getting all my stuff checked. When we got out there, once again, it was dark. I'm out in the ocean, never been out there diving before, on a boat that is bobbing around in the swells with a net hung up under their screw at night. So kind of had to think about it for a while, and that was kind of a tough deal to jump into that water. I had a light. I'm holding onto a flashlight and a bunch of tools. I had some stuff in a bag. Got down there, and the first thing you see is this net moving back and forth in the current and the swells. It's like a living thing. Right. And I'm realizing, okay, everything I've got that is anywhere close to being loose will hang up on that net, and it's going to grab me. It's folding and twisting and moving all around. So the boat is going up and down a little bit in the swells. There's a lot of action going on.
Right.
So I finally got in close to it and got looking around and got to where I could hang on to the shaft of the shaft that's coming out of the hull toward where the screw was. I'm looking around with my flashlight, and basically there was only a couple turns of the net that were into the screw and a couple ropes. So I got in there, made sure I kind of kept my back to where I could push away if I had to, cut here and there, and I'm thinking, if I cut and I'm holding on to it or hung up on it and it starts dropping to the bottom, it's taking me with it. So I had to make sure that I kept my feet back away from it, and that was a spooky thing. But you go in there and cut a little bit and then get back. I finally got some leverage on a little bit of the net and pulled it off where the blades of the screw were, and the whole thing kind of finally came loose. Current kind of helped push it away. I felt that relief and everything.
Right.
I came up to the surface. I'd been in there for probably 40 minutes and sucked that tank of air completely dry. I was down to the last probably 300, 400 pounds of air pressure in there. So that was my first. I wasn't even thinking sharks at that time. But
Right.
just that big net was so massive, and the way it was moving, it was like a living thing.
Right.
And I just knew all those little openings in the net, if I had my wristwatch or anything, would get hung up in there.
Oh yeah.
It would pull me, hang on to me, my knife that was on my side of my leg, all kinds of different things that I was worrying about, making sure I didn't get hung up.
Right.
But finally got it loose and got it pushed away. The paycheck should have been bigger. I think
Yeah.
I think I should have got a lot more for that, but that was one of them jobs from hell. And
Right. Well, you lived
first time in the ocean, it was like that was a wake up.
Right. Right. I've never actually seen the ocean, so
I've been in it a lot.
yeah. 20 years in the Navy, I'd hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gulf of Mexico once, out of outside Louisiana, but that's all. Yeah, I've never actually got to see the ocean, man. That's something I got to change in life. Big regret, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's crazy, Eric. 20 years in the service. That's yeah, pretty wild, man.
That was before I went back in to become a Navy diver, and
Oh.
I thought about it, and it still didn't deter me. I went back in and got the training, and went through second class dive school and first class dive school, and when I retired, my title was Unlimited Diving Supervisor. I could supervise air diving with scuba or surface supplied, coming from a hose to a helmet, and recompression chamber supervision.
Nice.
So
Huh.
did it all.
That's crazy. Cool. When you were growing up, was that something you saw yourself doing?
I kind of got a motivation from my uncle. He had been a Navy bosun mate diver.
What's that?
A bosun mate is the guys that work on the ship, doing the deck maintenance and so forth, and taking care of all the lines and tying things up. And then he had been a Navy diver. And he had called a couple different times when I was a kid. He called one time from Hawaii, and Dad and Mom were talking to him, and they asked me if I wanted to say anything. And of course I asked him, do they really have hula girls over there?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Eric. Oh, boy.
I was a true sailor at heart, you know. But yeah, but he was my motivation. He had served on Guam a couple times, so that became my first duty station in the Navy. When I got a chance to, when I got out of Radioman A school, and they asked me, where did you want to go? And I had a list of places. I saw Guam on there, and I said, I'll take Guam.
Really?
And that's where I learned how to snorkel. First time out in the ocean. Some friends took me out, handed me a mask and some fins, and we swam through this coral reef and out to where it dropped off into blue water. And there's fish everywhere, all different colors. And I said, that's what it's all about. I want to do that.
That's awesome.
Ever since then, I've been into diving.
Where's the worst place you've had to be stationed?
Probably Norfolk, Virginia.
Let me rephrase the question. Where's the worst place you've had to dive?
Norfolk.
Okay. How come?
The water, it was just chocolate brown almost all the time.
Oh, really?
You could not see. Once your mask went under the surface of the water, you were like blind. You could not see anything. When we were working on a submarine, we would find a weld bead at the right frame where we needed to do a job. So we would take our gloves off, even if it was ice in the water, follow that weld bead around to the bottom of the sub to find where you're supposed to be working.
Oh, no.
And there was a couple times when the harbor froze up, we had to break through 6 inches of ice one time, make a hole big enough. 2 of us went down to work on a pinger that we were putting on a submarine so they could go out and do exercises. I came out almost hypothermic after 2 hours in a wetsuit in Norfolk Harbor.
No, thanks. Nope.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good time to me.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
All right.
But Guam, I had a great time there.
Yeah.
The visibility, sometimes we'd have 200-foot visibility.
Oh, wow.
We would make dives to 190 foot on surface supplied air once every week. So we were dropping down with a air hose. We'd get down to the bottom and establish our depth, and then we could have time to do whatever we wanted. And we would do decompression dives. We'd come up and decompress at 30 foot, 20 foot, 10 foot, and then come out. And if we had any problem, we had the recompression chamber back at the base where we could fix anybody that might have any decompression problems. So
Right.
we had no problem with it.
Huh. That's crazy. Well, Eric, 3 great stories, man. 3 Navy stories for 2 guys that were never in the service.
I know.
All dealing with oceans.
Yeah, no, Eric, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have no idea.
I know. I have one maybe, and it's
I do too. One maybe.
like, and the reason for that one is just,
Well, let's figure it
I
out.
guess. So
Well, Eric, what we do is to find out who has to try and guess first. We rock paper scissors. Now, there's 2 different ways to do it, Eric.
There's only one way to do it. That's
3 pumper. Oh my God! And it's
There's
never.
only one way.
Hey, right there, buddy. All right. 3 pumper. You know what, Eric? You'd be.
I've seen your
shocked.
podcast before.
Thank
I
you.
know this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But you know what? You'd be shocked. I am shocked that there's so. I never knew there was a difference. You know what I mean? Like the people did it differently.
and honestly, I didn't really think about it either until we started doing this.
It's a rhythm thing.
I did.
Bam, bam, bam.
Ready, set, go. Right?
Yeah.
Down, set, hut.
Yeah, and then you go after the hut or the go. You don't
Down,
go
set.
on it. You hear hut and go. So it's rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Then you go after the
Rock, paper, scissors. Bam.
Yeah. The one who gets passionate about is Dencia, but she's never here when it's a 3 pumper. Ever. And then she like berates me like, I don't know when you're just gonna learn. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know what's nothing's wrong with me. What's wrong with you? So all right, we're doing 3 pumps, right?
All right. Yep.
Damn. All right.
I finally won something in 2022.
All right, 3 great stories, Eric. We had first dive in the ocean, net and screw of Pearl J, staff's cable job at Diego Garcia, and fishing trip to hell with Hap Belial and Red Wakely. So, Eric, I really am stumped. I'm not gonna lie to you. These you told them all. You didn't have a lot of tells, man, at all.
I told you I'd guarantee it was going to be tough.
You a poker player?
I have played a few times, but yeah, I'm not real good at it.
You a bullshitter? Yes. Okay.
I am. I can do that.
Yeah. I'm shocked.
No.
I mean, literally, the only one I can really okay, I'm going to go with Stass Cable. First dive in the ocean, net in the screw of Pearl J is the one that pops out to me. I don't know why. I don't know. I just... The one with the Diego Garcia and the sharks, you kind of mentioned before you really never dealt with sharks. But again, in that story, you never did either. You just had the fear of it. So, man, you truly have me stumped, dude. So, I'm going to go... God damn, Eric. I'm going to go with first dive in the ocean, net and screw up Pearl J. And the reason for that is just the other 2. Well, first of all, the fishing trip to hell with Hap and Red. I'm a coward too. That had a lot of detail with it. The Stass Cable also had quite a bit of deal. You really described it, what you did. The Pearl J kind of made. I don't know. I'm just gonna go. I don't have. I usually have a reason, Eric. I pick something. I really don't. I can't pick one of these out. So I'm just going crapshoot. So if I beat you, it's out of pure stupid luck. First dive, you did a good job. First dive in the ocean, net and screw of Pearl J is where I'm going with Adam Bokey.
Okay. And then, I have a question. You said this was partially borrowed. Is that right, your story? Okay. So that means it's all true, just not all true to you. So that makes it even worse. But, see, and I was thinking about the fishing trip, one because of how far you were out, but it's not a made-up story, so it has to be true.
It's true, just not his true story.
Right. So then that kind of disqualifies my reasoning on that one. So I'm going to go with Stas cable job at Diego Garcia, just because you may have been there, but there may have been somebody else in the water or something. I'm kind of like Moose. It's just a guess. I have no idea.
You know what? We actually here at the Brush Arts Center, we have the owner who's been listening. Rob, do you have a guess?
He's got me stumped too.
And he's a military man, so he's although you were in the Air Force.
Yes.
He's one of the fly boys. So,
Well, there are more airplanes on the bottom of the ocean than there are submarines in the sky.
that's true. That's true. That's true. Unless you're on the right kind of drugs, Eric, then that's absolutely not true. So,
I don't know why, but if I had to vote, I'd vote the one about the cable. I don't know why.
the Stas
Stas cable.
That's what you picked, right?
Yep, that's what I picked.
Eric, flip it over. Let's see what's going on. First dive in the ocean. You know what? I got it right, but it's just out of pure stupid luck. I ain't gonna lie to you. What was borrowed about it?
That was my son.
Oh, okay.
He called me up and he said, "Dad, I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but they've called me up to come out and get this net out of the screw of the Pearl J." And I talked to him for a while and I told him, "Okay, you got to watch out. That net is a living thing. That boat's going to be moving up and down. The net is moving around with the currents and the swells and everything. You better have everything tucked in. You don't want anything getting hung up on it. And you don't want to cut anything that you might be hung up on that'll take you to the bottom." So he had never dove in the ocean before, and he did it at night.
Apparently, he's never been on a podcast to learn that's a bad thing.
No, right?
Yeah. But yeah, my son has been doing a bunch of diving. He's never had a scuba class. And I've got to say this right now. If anybody's wanting to go scuba diving, get a class. Learn the proper way to do scuba diving. I've talked to my son quite a bit, but he just kind of winged it on his own. I'm out here in Colorado. He's on the Oregon coast. I didn't have a whole lot of control on him. And he had helped me several times. I dove in rivers and stuff after I got out of the Navy, and he would hold my rope that I had tied around my waist while I was going into places where I should have never been.
Right.
There was whitewater currents that I would drop down underneath, but he was familiar with the diving gear, but he's never had a scuba class.
Oh,
and
shit.
Then he went out and did that.
Were you happy about it?
I was petrified for him.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, the whole time I had my heart in my throat thinking, I hope he doesn't go out and do something stupid.
Right.
But he did get paid for it. It wasn't near enough, but he's still scuba diving and stuff. Lately, he went out and spent the whole season on a crab boat for Dungeness crabs.
Okay.
And he's been making some pretty good money on that. But that, again, is kind of like the deadliest catch. You're out on a small boat in the middle of the ocean pulling up crab pots and everything. They just had a boat yesterday that sunk, and they're still looking for 2 bodies.
That sucks.
So
That's awful.
it's always scary when somebody's out in that ocean. There's so many things can go wrong.
Right. Before we go, I do want to say there's going to be a small video after this podcast. We're going to go over the hall over at VFW, the hallway. You showed me. Do you want to describe it a little bit? We're going to do more to describe. I'm going to come over there. We're going to go over it thoroughly. You're going to show me just a quick description of what we're going to look at.
Okay. After I became commander of the VFW, we had a desire to do something for veterans we decided we would try to get a mural painted somewhere in there, and we wanted to have a military color guard or honor guard depicted. Well, I was driving down the street one day, and I saw Joe Maquetta looking out the window at the Sands Theater. So I slowed down, I waved at Joe, and he didn't wave back. He just sat there looking at me. And I finally realized that it's a painting in the window. It's still there now.
Yep.
But at that time, Melody was director of the Chamber of Commerce. So I asked her, who did that painting? It was really realistic.
Right.
You know? So she told me it was a young lady named Ashley Lake. So we contacted Ashley, and we got her to come over, and we showed her some pictures of honor guards that we had, and we described where we would like that painted in our Hall of Honor. She says, I can do that for you. Well, she's a self-taught young lady. She was 21 years old at the time.
Very cool.
She had a young boy named Samuel that he was probably a couple years old, but she said she could come in and paint for a while, you know, as she had opportunities to. And she got started on it. We had a picture from the internet. We had to modify it a little bit, but we got the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard uniforms all on there, including a female. And she started in with some pencil sketches, and over a period of 9 months, I got to watch that thing come to life.
Right.
The details on that are amazing. There's flags that ripple against a flat wall. There's wood grain on the flagpoles. There's chrome fittings on the flagpole, and there's even reflection of the flag on the chrome fittings.
Right.
Wow.
She painted the stitching around the cups that hold the base of the flagpoles. She went into that much detail. She spent an unknown amount of time getting the exact colors for our ribbons that would be on the chest of our uniforms. She made them as exact as she could. We went through magazines or pictures off the internet, and she would match that picture up until she had the exact right color.
Wow.
And we've got to hand it to her. That is an amazing picture. I'm still blown away by it every time I see it.
Very cool. Well, stick around. We're going to be wrapping up pretty quick, but you and I are going to do a small video on that. It's going to be at the end of this podcast. So if you're listening to it, obviously you can't see it, but check out the YouTube video. We're going to go over that hall, and you and I are going to kind of check out some of the people in there, you know, some of the history of Brush, Colorado. It's very cool what you guys do down there, man. So you guys have done a lot of work at that VFW. So,
Okay.
But we'll check it out, man. We'll do sometime this week. I'll get a hold of you, and we'll pop over there and get that done, Eric. So,
Okay.
But we're also going to show some love for the Brush Art Center where we are. We didn't give too much information. You can see around us the Art Center. If you want to check out the Brush Art Center, look at the description of this podcast on the YouTube or whatever podcast audio you listen to. And Eric, oh, you're fired. We're almost done, Eric. You want to hold that real quick?
Yes, I will.
Attaboy. But anyway, it's on the description, so check it out. They got a lot of cool stuff going on down here. The Sip and Paint, or the Paint and Sip. He's just got a bunch of different stuff down here, and they got a lot of great things down here. So please come check them out. Show support to a small town business. Came into our community, has done a great thing so far, and given us something brand new down here. You know, as far as you weren't here when he was describing Eric, it's art as he described it up front. Mental.
I was sitting back there behind,
Right.
so I got to hear a lot of that.
And they're going to do a lot of cool things. You know, it's just something different and new for our community. So thanks for the Giffords for showing up and doing that. And please show them support and love for letting us out here. And thank you, Rob. I'm pointing to the camera right now, although he's behind me. You can hear, like, I can hear you. But anyway, Eric.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for coming on, man. I know you do a good job. You many years of experience, and yeah, we'll have you back on one of these days and this some more crazy stories.
Just got one more thing to say.
Okay.
So there I was at 190 feet of seawater, sucked my last breath of air, and then I saw it. And you can fill it in whatever you want after that.
Okay.
People always ask me, what'd you see down there? And it's like, okay. So I sucked my last breath of air, and then I saw it. And you can fill in the rest of the story.
And I will. Well, he's not here. So,
All right.
Anyway, Eric, thank you so much for coming on.
And thank you for your service as well.
Yeah, thank you for your service, man. That is
It was only 20 years.
that's all it was. I mean,
It's
I
20
enjoyed
years
it.
longer than I did.
yeah,
So
do that on your hands, right? That's not, So,
They gave us diving equipment. They gave us boats. If we weren't actually working on ships or submarines, we had the opportunity to go out and catch lobsters or fish. So it kind of made it a little bit more tolerable.
right,
Rainbow Bass, man.
Rainbow
sir.
Brass.
Eric, thank you so much. I'm Moose Lundstrom.
I'm Adam Vokey.
See you guys next time. Peace. So, hey guys, we're looking at the Hall of Veterans.
Hall of Honor.
Hall of Honor. Learn how to read, Lundstrom. Jesus, brush high school education. You can't blame me, right? Hall of Honor with Eric Christensen. So check it out. We're looking at my man.
This is our Hall of Honor. We wanted to present a mural that would honor the veterans of all the different branches of the service. We came up with a picture off the internet that had a few different branches on there. We modified it and put in some other pictures. We had Ashley Lake paint this for us, but we have the Navy, the Army, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and the Air Force, including a female.
Who's the
Here.
female?
We wanted to make sure that we covered the different branches of the service and honored them all in their dress uniforms. We've got the flags with the cups, which are used to hold the flag poles. Everybody's in their uniforms, and we even have the rifles on both sides.
It's pretty cool, man. Who's this homely guy right here?
That happens to represent some
Looks familiar.
former Navy diver sailor that since I had spent 20 years in the Navy, and since I was the commander of the post at the time, I took the liberty of putting my own face on the Navy uniform there.
Fair.
And with 20 years, I outranked Jerry McDaniels. He was also in the Navy, but we put him in a Coast Guard uniform because he did a job very similar to what the Coast Guard does. He was a air rescue jumper, survivalman, basically. He would jump out of helicopters when needed to rescue someone that was in the water. Very similar to the Coast Guard. And he only had 4 years in the Navy, so we put him in a Coast Guard uniform. The Army guy, this was Jack Scott. He was commander here before I was. I took over from him. We got his unit patch on the beret, but the uniform is as detailed as we can get. Marine Corps uniform, we have Daryl Armstrong. He's also been a commander here at the VFW post. And he was rather slender when he first went in. But if you look, the Eagle Globe and Anchor is prominent on his uniform. Once again, this is Jerry McDaniels, his face being used on the Coast Guard uniform.
Very cool.
And with the permission of Susan Balderston, we used the face of her daughter, Natasha.
That's very cool. I grew up with Tosh.
Natasha was a Navy lieutenant, but with Susan's permission, since we had the perfect profile to fit this picture, we used her face on a Air Force sergeant uniform.
Okay.
So we have local veterans' faces on our Hall of Honor mural.
That's very cool.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
This is one of the frames where we have pictures and bio of the veterans who served in our military. We take a 5x7 picture with their name, branch, and rank, and places where they've been stationed, and maybe some information about some special duty that they had or some special award. We've got a pair of brothers up there that served together. They were actually in Vietnam at the same time.
It's crazy.
Right below that, this is Miguel Keith. He received the Medal of Honor posthumously. He was killed in battle in Vietnam. He was not from Brush, he's from Kansas, but his aunt and uncle live here in town.
Very cool.
So, with their permission, we put his picture on our Hall of Honor.
Carlson boys, I grew up with them.
Yes, Randy and David.
Yeah. And you said that you had a little something going on in the hall today. So the wind blew a lot of our veterans' pictures down. You'll be putting them up here soon.
Yeah, the wind blew through the hole when the door was open, and it took out some of the pictures and some of the biographies. So I have to sort it through and find the proper biographies to go with the pictures. But we will get them back on our Hall of Honor and present them in the honor that they deserve.
That's awesome, Eric. I think it's cool you're so passionate about this. They're lucky to have you here in Brush, Colorado.
I'm still serving. Actually, I just found out last night, I got an email from one of the guys off my ship. In 2 days, it will make 50 years from the day that our ship received a combat action ribbon for our action off the coast of Vietnam. We came in guns blazing, shooting at coastal batteries along the Qua Viet River at the DMZ of Vietnam. And the coastal batteries were shooting back at us. And I had never received that paperwork until last night. I finally got a PDF with the official statement of exactly what we did. So
Pretty cool.
50 years ago, we were shooting it out with the Kong.
That's cool.